Yes, welcome to the Vanguard Show on podcast, sponsored by the book From Old Guard to Vanguard, a second generation Panther, and also From Old Guard to Vanguard photo exhibit. And today's special guest, well, first, let me introduce a special guest host, Miss Kathy. She really doesn't get on the joint as much, but I definitely want to welcome her to the show today.
Hello, everyone.
And we have a very special guest, Brother Kellen M. Parham. He's an author, writer, poet, businessman, and also he's the author of the newly released book, A Lover's Truce, which is available on Amazon.com. And brother, this book is fantastic, man. First of all, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. A little exhausted, from my family. Yesterday was just totally busy from the beginning to end. So, but
Okay.
I'm doing great.
Good. Well, we have a little family connection. You want to talk about someone that is very dear to you that my wife knows as well?
My mother.
Yes.
Yes. Nedra Allen.
Okay.
Nedra Duro.
Okay.
Yeah. She's like she has a really great personality. Like she's like one of those I'm gonna give it to you how I see it type people.
Right.
So that's kind of how I was raised. Like she's not gonna beat around the bush about anything. Like if she has something that that she feels like that she can contribute, she's always willing to help. So she's helped me.
Well, I totally agree with that. She comes from the same state that I come from, born and raised from Louisiana, and pretty much we are that type of people. It's like we're direct to the point, don't beat around the bush. How they say, she's my girl, been knowing her for a long time. And definitely she's part of family. She's like me. Once you actually come and we trust you, you become family. And so, yeah, I love your mother.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Well, brother, tell us about this book, brother. What inspired it? First maybe talk about your upbringing and what led you to write this particular book.
Well, of course, I'm from Atlanta, born and raised, but I spent like half of my life, since my mom's from Louisiana, so she'll ship me off on like a plane or a Greyhound or Amtrak to Louisiana, and I stay there for during the summer sometime, a lot of times. So I feel like, well, my childhood in Atlanta was mostly, it was like, you have like the book smarts and then you have the street smarts. So Atlanta was, it was that, the book smart and, that type of life. But when I got to Louisiana in the little Brooklyn neighborhood, it was like, everybody was like, in that whole neighborhood, it was like, everybody's like cousins at some point. I feel like everybody was like our family members. Like my grandparents was, they were born like their childhood home and, it's still in that same street and everything. And so when I got there, it was like, it's kind of like when I learned kind of like the street smarts where like some of my cousins who would hang out in the park, they were doing things that they weren't necessarily supposed to be doing.
Right. Okay.
I'm not gonna air out their personal business like that. And so, I was able to get like a eyewitness account of things and, how it affected, their community instead of just watching it on TV or something like that. So it was a lot of personal things that I've gained, especially from my grandfather. Like my grandfather used to take me everywhere, like around Iberia.
Okay.
And he'd take me to the golf club, the country club, because he was in playing golf and everything, and I'd go swimming and stuff like that. Okay. But so it's like some things like that. So it's like a lot of personal life things where I kind of incorporate like in my writing because it's more so like personal for me.
Okay.
I write just like I write pretty much for myself, so not for like other people or that for entertainment. But like this book that I have, it really didn't start off as a book. So I was like last year, my brother-in-law passed away, and I was going through like mentally like a lot of things, like dealing with grief, dealing with like on my own personal things that I was thinking about. So it was like a bunch of like self-reflection, and I just needed to take my mind and to put it into something else, something like positive. I felt like, and like I didn't discover my love for writing until I got to like undergrad at Georgia Southern.
Okay. All right.
Because I was a math major, and mathematics was very stressful. It was very like, I wanted to do well in school, but I really wasn't doing as good as I knew I could. And so I was really always hard on myself. So I put like the extra stress on my own self, and then not doing well also made stress. But then I also wanted to like have a social life. So I also wanted to like have friends and party, whatever, so
Right. Okay.
it was just a lot of conflict going on. And so once I discovered writing was like a therapy. It was like I had a outlet to where I could just be in total control and not be under anything. Like it was like a bubble. Like I tell people, like I could create a bubble around myself when it comes to writing. And I have that control of what comes in and what goes out. And it was like, I'll write something. I may feel stressed out when I first started writing, but then by the time I finish with the poem and I see like what I created, and I'm like, oh man, I actually like this. It's like a total like stress relief.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like things I could go back and read now, and I don't even like necessarily feel the poems and those emotions anymore. So it's like, and which is, I feel like it's a good thing because I had to get that out. It's not in me anymore.
Right.
But so like dealing with like the grief of my brother-in-law and family things or whatever I was going through, I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna write. I just started writing. I just had to get it out. And it wasn't like a book I had an idea of starting off. It was just, I started with like one poem, which was Planetary Wonders. I went to I was in Dallas hanging out with friends. And so like the first line in the poem, I actually wrote it like 5 years ago or something like that. I wrote it like a long time ago, but I never actually finished it. But it was just like that trip to Dallas, hanging out with friends and meeting people and stuff like that. It kind of inspired me to actually, let me revisit this. And I started like writing it. I wrote it like that night. We left like a club or something. And I was at my frat brother's house by myself, and they were still out, and I was just writing. And once I finished, I was like, it felt great. Like it felt like those old times where I used to write a lot in undergrad. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. And I just kept going and kept going. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I kind of want to just see what could happen if I was to like group things up into like categories, like different poems, categories, like what can I build from this?
Right.
And so after a while, I realized I had like 200 pages of stuff just like in a Google Documents,
Wow.
like all
Wow.
built up.
Man.
And I was like, you know what? I did at one point in time have aspirations of being a published author or something, like, having a book or whatever. So I was like, you know what? Let me just do this for me because I needed something to do for myself. And like A Lover's Truce was really just, it's a small fraction of what was in that overall package that I created at that time. Because I just had it like at first I was just gonna just dump everything into one large book, but I was like, after reading through it, I was like, the love poems really kind of have their own little story and message, and I liked them, and so I felt like it may be easily digestible to other people if I were to present it in like a more compact version. And so I separated it out from the overall package. Because I feel like if it's like 200 pages, I don't think anybody's gonna really read it. It's just gonna sit on somebody's bookshelf. Whereas this one, it's like it's like 100 pages, but the poems are really short, straight to the point.
Okay.
And I was going to say, that's us, our people, like you stated, we like things quick, short, to the point. And so I did appreciate, like you're saying, and I love to hear that we're going to have sequels because based on you telling me this is a package of one, right?
Yes. Well, yes. So the other poems are more so dealing with it's more personal than this one. So it's more like inspiration, dealing with grief, just my own like. So I kind of viewed it like this overall package as me being like me being a frog in a dissection table.
Mhm.
So it's like, as you look into this frog, you're gonna see every little piece that's inside. And so it's like me unveiling every little thing that I have hidden in my mind that I may not even be, willing to
Right.
tell other people.
Mhm.
But it's just, I just had to just put it down. I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna write whatever comes to my head and just put it all out there. And I didn't really have the intentions on sharing with other people. Like I was just going to just publish it on Amazon and just leave it there and not tell anybody. But I had a conversation with one of my friends. That was like, yeah, I have a book. Like he published a book on Amazon, and so he kind of just started giving me information on, like launching the book and everything. And so I was like, you know what, maybe I will tell people about it. It wasn't like something I just wrote and was like, yeah, I'm about to try to make money off of this. It's like, it's really not about the money. Like I don't really need the money. So it was just about doing something for myself.
And I think by doing for self, you're actually helping others because there's other people that aren't having the same type of pain. And sometimes sharing with others, get them through. So what you're doing is also helping others in the process. Because one of them, I was going to tell you, Planetary Wonders was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then I was going to give you a couple of other ones like In Your Orbit, Waiting to Wither, and also Be Safe Coming Home. Those are some that came, and for me, those were thoughts that by reading your poems, those actually were things in my head that I could see, even with me and my husband. Definitely, I know he's the type for the one Be Safe Coming Home. He's always wondering, am I going to make it home? And then, in the environment we're currently in, that is on people's minds. Yeah. And that in itself is stressful, thinking about someone, just like I just saw yesterday, going to the grocery store and you saw what happened, that massive shooting. And like my husband stated, now we're even having to think to the point of where would I go if something like that occurred and I'm in the store?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I think about that as well, even when I'm like sitting in church and it's like, here I am sitting in church where I should be focusing on, the word and what the preacher's saying. But here I am having like anxiety, thinking like, will somebody come in here and shoot up the place or something? And it's just like, and so like a lot of what you just said is like not in this current book, but it's in like what I've written, just like I'm the type of person where I would literally be up in the middle of the night, like, doing whatever, but I would have like an angry conversation with like God or something in the poem where I'm like, I think about people who have lost their children and I'm like, yo, like my daughters are beautiful. They're great kids. Like I'm gonna be angry if like people like, yeah, the Lord call your child home. It's like that's supposed to make you feel better or something. But it's like, in my mind, it's like, that's kind of like, why would he want to do that? Like, it kind of like made me, think more like, yo, I'm having this. It's just like, yo, God, if you take my child away, I'm gonna come up there and we're gonna have this long conversation. Like,
Okay.
So it's like,
yeah.
So it's like stuff like that. Like I've put down on paper, and it's just like those things where I may stay up late at night because I may be having some anxiety of like, I wonder if I'm gonna wake up the next day and how my kid's gonna feel about it or something like that, because I don't know, it's just once
I was gonna say, I call it my venting sessions.
Right. And I did want to ask about in that whole vein, the Be Safe, coming home. You kind of, that was one of those poems in your book, Lover's Truce that hit home, as well as Love's Epiphany. Talk about some of those titles and the intention behind them.
Well, I wanted the title to be, for me, I wanted the title to kind of be a part of the poem itself. I feel like sometimes I read stuff and people just have titles. Like I see a title and it really doesn't mean anything to me when I read some people's books. But I wanted the title to have some like a relevance. Like every aspect of the book, I wanted to be like even from the cover to the dedication, I wanted all of it to have, a relevance. And like the cover that you see, I have a photographer friend and he was, I met him through gymnastics. And so he was walking around one day with just his camera, and I was like, man, what are you planning on doing? You know, I was about to go to a brewery, you know,
Okay.
and he was like, you know, I'm just want to, you know, try to get more sensitive to my environment. So I'm just gonna sit around and take pictures, and you know, so I thought about that.
Yeah.
So it'd be some days, you know, I'd be bored, and I was at gymnastics, and I was like, you know, I just started randomly taking pictures, and so like the cover was literally a picture of the bowling alley, of a part of a wall, outside wall of the bowling alley next door.
Okay.
And
I see the brick and everything. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so you see the brick, and you see like the background, it's like a smudge, so it's like really dirty.
Right.
And it's like at one point in time, I'm assuming that wall was beautiful, like it was clean, the paint was pristine. So it's like, you know, it almost reminds me of like a relationship where, you know, when you first start off, everything is like beautiful, and then as time goes on, you know, y'all have y'all disagreements or some things go awry or whatever, and then it's like, you know, various little blemishes or whatever, blips on the radar or whatever happened in your relationship. And so it's like, it's almost reflective of the wall where, you know, at one point in time it was beautiful, nice and clean and painted, but then over time it got weathered, and, you know, life happens. So it was just like, with the book itself, it's just like, you know, it's just thoughts of like everyday or things that you may want to say or things you can't say, things you've gone through relationship or people you may think about or whatever. And things, life just goes on and life just happens. And it's like, I was telling my friend, he was like, yeah, I don't really, like I showed him the cover. He was like, you know, it really doesn't stand out to me. I was like, but when I think about it, you know, I was like, you know, it's like the writing is on the wall. So it's like, I put a lover's truce, where like a truce for me, like the title, it was like, it's words that you're battling in your mind. You have this was like this huge like craziness going on in my mind. It was like words was just all over the place, and I couldn't really understand what was going on. So the only way I could understand was just, you know, to write it down and to actually accept some of the things I was thinking and just come to peace with it, you know, instead of fighting this war internally, you know, just come to, you know, like a truce. And so that's how I came with the title.
And I was going to say, a lot of people state that after they write it, sort of like what you said, after the 5 years coming back and looking, once you write it down, it's like it's a release of that stress, of that thought coming out.
Yeah. It really is.
Yeah. And who are some of your influences? Because, you know, people don't just pop up and do something, right? You have to be influenced usually, sometimes through tragedy, sometimes through just reading others' stories. So who were some of your influences?
Every day, like my kids, my relationship with my wife and my relationship with my kids, my friends, and my brother-in-law was like, I think his incident was, he was like the spark that lit, you know, the wick, whatever, to some explosion. So it was just like, you know, it was like that moment where it was like, he was only like a year older than me. And here you are a year older than me, 2 kids just like me, married just like me. And it's like, you know, something, what happened with him is just like, now he's gone. And it was like, so it's more like I've started like self-reflecting, like, what have I been doing, like, to fulfill like whatever dreams I ever had, or what am I missing? Because I always felt like I always wanted to do something. Like, I'm not really finding fulfillment in like my career or whatever. It's just, you know, my job is just like a means for financing my lifestyle. But it's like actually doing something for me, because mostly my priority has always been my children and, you know, my wife and taking care of home. But actually doing something for myself, I really haven't really been doing anything. So it's like, it's a combination. It's a lot. It's not just one person that inspired me when it comes to writing or writing this book. You know, just random people I meet. I sit in a bar sometimes. Well, I have sit in a bar sometimes, and I people watch. And I brought my book one day, and I just wrote a poem about a girl that walked by, because it was just like something about her face that made me think to write something. But it just, I don't know, it's just personal experiences, interactions with people. I try to find inspiration. I met Nikki Giovanni once, and she was like, I was like, yeah, I have a hard time finding inspiration. And she was like, you know, inspiration is always around you. It's always around, you know? And I didn't understand it at that time, but now in this moment, it's like, I find it, I actually understand what she means by that.
Okay.
So I have to ask you, how did you get the courage to not only write, but publish your truth? Because that in itself, it's one I did read that you stated part of it was people might get mad. So what encouraged you to write your truth and then publish?
So it's a lady, her name is Mary Donald. She wrote this book. Hold on, let me see. I have it right here, literally.
All right.
So she wrote this book. It's called Reflections,
Okay.
Poems and Songs. But
Mhm.
she's local to San Antonio. But I randomly found this book. So I was going to a bookshop, randomly found it on the bookshelf. Like, it's really hard to see because it's like, if you look at it on the spine, it's no words on it. So
Right.
and it's really thin. So it was blended. It was like boxed in with like a whole bunch of big books. So it was like sandwiched in. You really couldn't find it. But when I was reading it, it's kind of like about different transitions, I guess, that she was going through. I think she was maybe going through like a divorce or something. But it was like some things that she wrote. And it was like, I was like, wow, like, how did she manage to have the courage to actually put down what she just said about, maybe about her own relationship? And it's like you could feel like it's very personal. And so it was just like, that was one of those things that gave me courage. It was like, you know what, I'm just gonna write it. And like originally, like I said, it wasn't about sharing it with anybody. Like, I didn't plan on sharing it. I was just gonna just publish it and just leave it there. And it was just gonna be like my own personal accomplishment of, I did this for me and I did what I wanted to do. So that's pretty much kind of what it was.
Okay.
I don't know.
And also this Mad Black Poet. Explain that moniker. I need to know.
Yeah, so all right. So I've been on Twitter for like a real long time, for like 2009.
Okay.
So I changed it because I view myself as, I was always writing. And so I kind of took it, it was like a play on, the Diary of Mad Black Woman. So I took,
Okay.
but the word mad for me was more so aligned with like mad scientists. So, they always tinkering and trying to create something. So for me, it was like, I was always trying to experiment and explore with different things, with different elements of my writing. So that's how I came out with, Mad Black Poet. Because I'm like a mad scientist. I'm Black, obviously. I was a poet. Because like even then, I used to be like into like like Zane books. 'Cause my mom used to have some Zane books back in the day.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
telling too much of information. So I used to read like Zane novels. And so I kind of started, I was like, I'm gonna write erotic poetry. So I started writing kind of like, erotic poetry back then. So I was always experimenting, changing things up. And so it wasn't always like, I write like inspiration poems, because I was going through stuff. So I write stuff for myself to feel better about it. I write inspiration poems. I write, I was always, I had a wide interest in things. And whatever was piqued my interest, I was always willing to tinker with it or experiment with it and just try to see whatever comes out.
Yeah.
So that's how, I viewed myself as like a mad scientist.
Okay. I was going to say before Kathy chimes in that you seem to be so much of a Renaissance man, a modern Renaissance man with, the music, the poetry, the writing, and then you seem to have found your purpose in that sense. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah, well, I still feel like I'm still searching, but yes, I do have a wide interest in a lot of things. And I think that may be like a gift and a curse. More so, I think like the curse wise is that I feel like if I could focus on one thing, that then possibly I could be great at it. Like I want to be great at something.
Right.
But I'm so interested in so many different things, even things that I'm not even good at. Like that I'll be wondering, like, I meet, like I've been meeting, like I've been exploring in San Antonio because I haven't been doing it, but I've been exploring. So I've been meeting like, I met like a graffiti artist. I met like a funk band player. So I'm meeting all these people and I'm seeing like their work, their art, their craft. And I'm like, man, this is like incredible. Like these people are like incredible at what they do. And so I'd be like, shoot, I want to be a painter too.
Why not?
Like one day I was just like, I was bored at home. And I had like a small canvas like left over from like, taking the kids to go painting. So I was like, you know what? I'm about to go in the backyard. I'm gonna be a painter today.
Wow.
And regardless of how great, how terrible it was, like it didn't matter. That wasn't the point. The point was like in that moment, I wanted to be something. So I said I am, and I'm gonna do it. And so it just be like stuff like that. But I wish,
I was gonna say you sound like me because I'm that type. It's like I'm curious about everything, but like you're saying, if we specialize in one, we know we could be great.
Right.
I can't, it's like it's hard for me to specialize in one thing because I'll get bored with it and I just want to do something else. Like it's a lot of things that I'm interested in.
That's me too. I'm that type. It's almost like I dabble in everything. And it's like I constantly want to change. And I think it's because you're constantly wanting to learn. I think that's part of it, learning and growing. But once we hit that peak of what we specialize in, I think that's when your creative blossom will bloom.
Right. And I want to know, how can people, number one, get this and what's next for you? Because it sounds like you have some things brewing, literally.
You can get it off Amazon.com. Okay. It's available on Amazon.com. If somebody local from San Antonio, it's at Twigs Bookshop. That was another accomplishment of mine that I wanted to do because after finding this book at Twigs Bookshop, I was like, and then I randomly went in there, and I just asked a lady at the desk. I was like, so how can you get like your book published? I mean, not published, but how can you have like I noticed they had like a shelf for like local authors, and I was like, I wonder how these people have their books in this, in their shop or whatever. And so I asked the lady, she was like, yeah, we have like a consignment program or whatever, and then you just submit your work, whatever. So like I submitted my book, and I was scared, I was nervous. I was like, man, they're gonna tell me no, but I was like, who cares? It's like, they tell me no, whatever. At least I tried.
Right.
And so like I got like a random call. I think I submitted like on a Monday or Tuesday. I got a random phone call like on a Thursday. She was like, yeah, this is Kale from Twig Bookshop. I've been trying to email you, but some reason I keep getting email get shot back to me, whatever. But she's like, yeah, I've been trying to call you, let you know that your book is incredible, whatever. Like she told me, she was like, I didn't read all of it, but what I read, I really liked it. And I was like, okay, great. And then she was like, yeah, we can you drop off like 2 more copies? We're gonna sell it at the shop or whatever. And she was like, yeah, come in and, talk to, it was another lady who's like responsible for booking certain events or whatever. So they have like author viewings and showings and stuff.
Right.
And so like I was going up there anyway for like a creative writing workshop. And so I was talking to a lady and they were like, telling me how they liked the book, whatever. And like they had like a author like showing, like author viewing like slot available. At first I was like, I don't really know, because I really don't know anybody in San Antonio like that. So
right.
But after she explained the details, all she said was like, yeah, we set you up a table and we just have your book on display and you just stand behind the table and just talk to people that comes by. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was like so they have like what is that thing called? A market, pretty much like a market, a farmer's market.
Yeah, okay, I see.
So it was like during the hours of like the farmer's market. And I was like, okay, so I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there. So I was just going out there just to have fun, just to hang out. And as I spoke with people that walked by, it was like people were actually like real interested, not necessarily in the book itself, but more so just in me just having genuine conversations with people. I realized it was like once I have conversation with people, people like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go buy your book.
Okay.
And it's just
all
like,
right. Yes.
Like, thanks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And I was going to ask, are you going to be going on, you have a lot of book festivals are starting to come back now, presentations at institutions like libraries or what have you, in colleges. Are you planning on doing any of that?
I don't really know. I'm kind of not the stand in front of people talk type of person.
Okay.
I'm more like to myself, but I really don't know it right now. There are very like a lot of different events that go on in the city that I've been finding out about, and if I could, I could easily probably purchase like a vendor table at some event, because people are always, especially like in these art events, they have like they have like live shows and art vendors out there, and I'm pretty sure if I were to just set up a booth and have some books out there. I'm sure I can meet a lot of nice people, cool people, which I may consider doing that. I just have to find the time to do it, because right now, so like the whole month of April and May was just so busy between birthdays and Mother's Day and anniversaries. It's just exhausting. But yeah, I don't really know right now. Right now, I'm just taking it kind of one day at a time, really.
Yeah, my wife and I, in public and pretty much promoting my book, we've been in book fairs all over the country, pretty much.
Oh wow!
And especially local stuff. I'm sorry, sweetie, what you about to say?
And I was going to say, just like you stated, I think the arena of actually having it as a vendor booth, we've done a lot that actually we met other great people and also other artists doing those type of events. And we actually had one of the ladies that came on, Natalie, and she did the exact same thing like you. She actually would jot down over 20 years of just writing. And now she's actually putting kids' books together. So she has several actually out there as well. But we got to meet people also that's authors the exact same way. And it's a perfect environment to have that one-on-one conversation with people as they're passing.
Right, exactly. I met an author as well. She goes by E.M. Miller, but she has a book called Apex, and it's actually really good. I'm only on like chapter 4, but I'm a really slow reader sometimes, but her book is actually good. And she was a nice person. And yeah, so I've met like people like that. That was at the actual author viewing that I had when I met her. She was like leaving the bookshop and she was walking by the table. We just randomly started having a conversation. We was talking for a while.
So I do have one additional question. I wanted to know words of encouragement for others that might be interested in actually writing some of their ideas and actually publishing. Do you have any words of encouragement for them?
Yeah, just honestly, I would say just write whatever comes to your mind, no matter if it makes sense or it don't make sense. Like, that's not the point. You just write it. Don't really worry about sharing with other people, because sometimes you could kind of get, distracted or caught up in the thoughts of somebody else's opinion. Or they, even this is like unsolicited opinions, whatever. Or some people, they think they have good intentions, which, it's okay. You have good intentions and you want to share your opinions and your experiences, but sometimes it don't really get received that way sometimes. But it's just like, just stay focused and just keep writing.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I was going to say also, how can people follow you on social media? Because I follow you on all your pages and love your pages, matter of fact, but how can people follow you and contact you?
I'm on Instagram, Locks and Brews, Locks, LOCS_AND_Brews, BREWS. Because that name is because I love beer, craft beer.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you about the brews part.
I was only using my Instagram. I realized I was only using Instagram just for pictures of beer. And it started because when I got introduced to craft beers, I always wanted to remember what I was drinking. So in order for me to remember, I had to take pictures of them. And so I would just post it on Instagram.
Right.
And that was like, where I could remember what I was drinking and what I was having. So yeah, but I'm really big into craft beers. I'm also on Twitter, Mad Black Poet, which I don't really know if I want people to follow me on Twitter.
Okay, all right, whatever you don't want to give is all right. Well, brother, and again, I'm gonna definitely be reaching out to you, and I want to, definitely encourage you to kind of, definitely get together with other writers and other arenas in which you can get your book more exposure. But love this book, A Lover's Truce, and I definitely encourage everyone to not only order it on Amazon.com, but also write the review after you did that. So I want to definitely congratulate you on all your success, my brother.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes.
And we appreciate you actually taking the time out.
Oh no, this is fun. I enjoy it.
Okay, well, brother, look here. We really appreciate you, man, and good luck with all your future endeavors. And we'll be talking to you again real soon.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
brother. Appreciate you.
All right.